And we are live.
Great. So I'd like to call to order the special council meeting of Tuesday, June the 9th, 2020 at 4:50 p.m. A little late, 4:54 p.m. We have one item to consider in this meeting tonight. It's the in-person council attendance at regional and committee meetings. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, so hitting business item 3A, in-person council attendance at regional and committee meetings. Ms. Winter, do you want to introduce this or do you just want me to go?
Mayor, if you would like to go ahead.
Okay, I'll do so. We've had some requests for members of council to start attending in-person committee meetings such as the Regional Transit Service Commission. But back at our March 13th special council meeting, we did move that, we moved that council suspend council's in-person attendance at all regional and committee meetings. And so what's before us today is the discussion as to whether or not we should be starting to attend these meetings again in person. As phase 2 is starting to open up and phase 3 is probably coming this summer. It's sort of an agenda item for council. We also moved at that same meeting that council suspend all business air travel until further notice or further review, and that we suspend in-person council conference attendance. I still think those two are valid, but open up for discussion on in-person attendance at regional meetings. Thoughts from members of council? Are we ready to do this? Councillor Monk-Oswine.
Yeah, thanks. I think, generally if it's framed around from a, if your individual councillor is comfortable with doing it, I don't think we need to mandate everyone that they have to go back to this. So I think if it's framed around whether individual councillors are comfortable, I think that this is something that we should look at. Obviously, we need to take accountability to follow all the social distancing rules and all that sort of thing. But I'm finding that some of the meetings that I'm being asked to participate in would be challenging to effectively advocate for Beaumont if I'm the one lone person who's on the Teams call or the Zoom call, however you want to be. So I'm okay if council doesn't want to do this. I'm okay to handle that way. I just think I think it's time now for us to loosen that restriction personally. But whoever's comfortable. If you're not comfortable, then obviously you can still participate virtually. So those would be my 2 cents. I think it's pretty straightforward. Thank you.
No, I agree. If we leave it up to, if we see this as permission, not direction, I think that's fair game. Councillor Van Newkirk.
Yeah, just in addition to those thoughts, a couple of the boards that I sit on have made provisions to get a larger room or larger facility to allow social distancing, as in not being in the small boardrooms that we used to meet in. So I think that the provisions that those boards and commissions may make around having physically more room, along with the attendees being comfortable, as was said before, things are looking up. So that's my thoughts. Thank you.
No, fair enough. So do I see any further discussion?
No.
Okay, so I'm prepared to make a motion that council, at the discretion of each elected official, resume in-person attendance at all regional and committee meetings. So that puts the onus on each member of council. I'm going to speak to them now. Puts the onus on each member of council to make sure that they're okay with attending in person. You don't have to. You can still stick by electronic means if that's what you're most comfortable with in any given situation. And that each council member is going to have to make sure that wherever you go is following the 2 meter or mask rule that seems to be prevalent. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Barnhart.
Thank you. And I know there was a question that I had in my mind, and it was one of liability. And I don't even like bringing it up, but I just wonder if we do take it upon ourselves to attend a meeting, and God forbid somebody were to pass on the illness, is the city of Beaumont in any way liable?
Don't know. CAO?
Yeah, just waiting for sound here. I don't see how the city of Beaumont could be liable. This is a medical issue, a health issue. people get past. There's obviously the optics would be associated with that. I can double check with legal tomorrow, but I'd be very surprised if it became a liability issue. It's more of an image issue.
I hadn't thought of it myself until someone way down south issued waivers that people had to sign to go to a rally. And again, it just crossed my mind. I don't think it's something I necessarily would ever hold the city accountable for, but I wouldn't want to see us become liable because we've allowed something to happen that wasn't safe to do so.
If I could just add one thing, as you go through the documents, each individual meeting organizer and whatnot will be responsible for putting together a protocol that talks about what they're going to do in the event that somebody comes down with COVID. So they'll have a rapid response plan that'll need to be developed. They'll have all those parameters in place. But essentially, I think the biggest things that we're hearing from AHS is just following all the AHS guidelines. Ensure you physically distance from people when you're at these. They say that when you are seated in those events and you're not mixing, that they're fairly relatively safe. So all those things that you should keep in mind as you're doing that. Don't shake hands, don't share drinks, just follow those parameters. And AHS is saying that that risk is fairly low. They're allowing for those sorts of things to happen again.
Councillor Hendricks, thoughts?
Yeah, for me, the gold standard is AHS. We've been living under the direction of AHS since the middle of March. How they see it is how I'd see it. So whatever the rules are, that's how I'd apply them.
Yeah, I'm with you there. If we should be following all the AHS protocols as we're going out and about in the community, so.
Right.
Seeing no further requests to speak, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. We have no items in closed session. And we'll adjourn this meeting and we'll log out and log back into committee of the whole, and thank council members for your time to consider this tonight. Thank you very much. Meeting's adjourned.